Hello, my name is Thomas Steinmacher. I'm the product manager of the Log Manager series and FP TraceManager at Upscene Productions. Upscene Productions is a company based in the Netherlands creating quality products for database developers. We have released a new major version of our flagship product called Database Workbench, an integrated development environment for supporting multiple database engines in a single user interface. We also have other products like a data generator and an extensive tool for Firebird monitoring called FP TraceManager, database auditing tools for change data capture scenarios. So feel free to check it out, download trial versions. This screencast is about FP TraceManager version 3. We have been releasing a new minor version 3.5 with a lot of new stuff there. And this screencast is about to give you an introduction and an overview on what's new in that release. So for that, let's start the product and open the documentation, which already gives you a high-level overview in what has been added and changed in version 3.5. The main focus in that release was fully supporting Firebird 3. Firebird 3 isn't ready for production yet, but it's approaching beta release soon now. So we put a lot of energy in there because we need Firebird 3 for different things already, and we want to have the full monitoring there in the FP TraceManager product to identify slow-running queries and so on. So there are different things we cover here. First of all, the header page has been slightly changed. So when you query that with the gstart utility, that has been changed slightly in Firebird 3. There are some additions in the monitoring tables area. So Firebird 3 got a new on disk structure version 12 with some new fields in the monitoring tables. So we support that as well. And the database statistics. So when you run the gstat on a database and to get some information on tables and indexes and fill factor or whatever the gstat output provides, that has been changed and extended in Firebird 3 a lot. So there's a lot more data available, very useful data, and we have adapted our product regarding the parsing to present the new data in a convenient way for the end user. A different area was Firebird 3 also has some changes in the Trace API. So the Trace API is some sort of callback mechanism where you can hook into and to get a live stream on executed statement or started transactions and so on. So the new stuff here is that Firebird 3 supports functions. So and the Trace API now also has additional configuration parameters to trace function calls as well. And we have added new trace events to show function execution properly. There is some new trace configuration options available which can do that. Firebird 3 also supports packages. Packages is just grouping of stored procedures and functions, and in the raw trace data the package name is included as well, and we have adapted the parser there to extract the package information so that you get the full visibility in whether a stored procedure or function has been executed as part of a package or not. So the main focus was on Firebird 3. We are very excited about that. it adds a lot of useful things when you're working with Firebird 3 already, be it in pre-production, in testing, in load testing, or whatever. Another crucial area we have been focusing on was performance improvements. So we have improved quite some areas. We did some architectural changes, especially regarding decoupling the trace data fetcher thread from the persisting pass data thread, and so on. So you may see processing of trace data increased by around 250% or even more. Another area which customers sometimes requested was that we want to have some way of purging already persisted trace data somehow, and we have extended the browse area with predefined timeframes to purge and to delete trace data to keep the included FP TraceManager database in shape and not growing too much. If you have the log database option enabled, you can disable that, of course. Another area is that, especially with high-load systems generating a lot of trace events, running FP TraceManager in UI mode 24/7 and so on, we already have some things to purge rows from the trace data grid automatically and so on. But FP TraceManager version 3 is still a 32-bit application and thus limited regarding the RAM usage. But there is a way to increase the limit here slightly, which might be helpful for some people. And with every release, we try to improve the usability. So, for instance, there are additional buttons to rearrange the column position in a grid with a lot of columns. We have new trace events added to somehow recognize some sort of abnormal state regarding a trace session. So if it has been aborted by the Firebird server, or if it has failed to start, or if it has been suspended because there are too much trace data generated on the server side and the client cannot cope with that load. So with that new trace events, we get a bit more visibility regarding abnormal states in the context of trace sessions. There is also then the statistics tab. For the trace event statistics tab improved a lot here, so we see some sort of total executions and so on. So there are minor things here. We now have improved the docking capabilities across the entire product. So if you are in the monitoring tables and you want to rearrange certain areas in the user interface, you can do that now in a similar to what you may experience, for example, in Visual Studio or Delphi or something like that. Quite some bug fixes, improved stabilities, and so on. The embedded Firebird 32-bit version has been updated to the latest 2.5 release, and with each we have 1 year's subscriptions, and if you want to upgrade, so feel free, and we have a special discount for existing customers to upgrade. Alright, so that's the high-level overview. Now let's look a bit into the product now. First of all, I want to start with Firebird 3 support. So what we have here is we have Firebird 3 server registered at port 5050, and regarding the authentication, the new authentication support, different storage of the password and so on, it's important that you use a Firebird 3 client library. So FP TraceManager allows that already, so just specify a client library here. then connect, and I have already prepared a trace project here with those two new options here. The explain plan is new as well, but we have a look on that later on. So basically it's about tracing function calls, stored function calls. So if you start the trace session and we go to database workbench, and for instance we have one package here which basically includes a selectable stored procedure and a stored function. If we're gonna execute that function here and that stored procedure, both are from the package, we will see that we will see some additional columns in the past trace data here. So we have a package name and we have a function name. So if we execute a different function not in the scope from a package, so without package context, we're gonna see that we capture that as well. So we capture a function call, it has been started and finished, but without the package information here. The same, of course, for stored procedures which are not part of a package. We're gonna see that as well. So with let's see the stored procedure name, you see the new buttons here to move a column directly to the first position. And we'll see the procedure name, and here the procedure name in context of a package. So the parser has been adapted in that area, and we also can store that in the included FB TraceManager database, of course. The next one is that Firebird 3 offers a new trace configuration option called explain plan. So that's a new format of the execution plan, and we are able to capture it as well. So if we start a second trace session with the changed trace configuration parameter here, and we're gonna execute, here are some statements again, and if we then have a look on the execution plan, there is a slightly difference. So the first trace session is covering the already known format and layout of an execution plan. So if we have a look on that, that's quite familiar, what we have used for over 10 years now. And in Firebird 3 there has been a new layout added with additional information, with a different structure. And if we want to do that, you can also capture the new execution plan format if you want to. So these are basically the extensions in the Trace API support. Of course, the support for the function names and the package information and so on is also integrated now in the aggregated in-memory hotspot view here. So there is now the aggregated is now the aggregation is not done across the procedure or function name and the package name and database name. So again, the additional information regarding the package name is available here in the in-memory aggregated view, the hotspots analysis view as well. Alright, that's basically the Trace API. Now let's have a look on the database monitoring. So the per database monitoring is a different aspect in the product. So it's not using the Trace API here, but they already known things like the header page, database statistics, monitoring tables, which is available for quite some time now in Firebird. So the header page thing has some additional data here, what we're gonna pass and show in the pass grid here. The monitoring tables have been adapted slightly. There's now a crypt page if you use on-disk encryption. The owner of the database, I think there is some more data here in the attachments monitoring table, like the client version, the remote version, the remote host, the remote OS user, the authentication method, and so on. So I don't want to go into detail covering all new fields and all changes in the new on-disk structure of Firebird 3, but we basically support all of that. And a different area is the database statistics. Database statistics has been adapted, extended with new data, change data. So there are quite some changes there in the output, and we basically gone through all those changes in Firebird 3, and we adapted the parser there as well to basically give you the full visibility regarding the new data. For instance, some blob information and so on. There's a lot of new things here in the gstat output for both tables, indexes, and we all support that, and which is really useful if you're using Firebird 3 already. Alright, so I think we have covered everything regarding the Firebird 3 support right now. Let's have a look on the performance improvements. For that, I'm gonna switch to a different server and a different project. So let's have a look on the trace configuration if it is configured properly. What you will see here, for instance, if you are not connected to Firebird 3, the new trace configuration options here are disabled. So let's choose a predefined template here. Stop that and restart it. Alright, so performance improvements in a way that throughput has been increased a lot. So for instance, I have a demo application here available right now. So if we are adding 1000 records, FB TraceManager is busy fetching trace data, parsing, and so on. And it's basically all about how fast the client application can receive the trace data. So the Firebird server on the server side has a configurable limit on the temp space on disk, what can be used on the Firebird server side, and the client is fetching data. So if we have a look here, we will see that in-memory aggregated data shows the insert into statement has been executed 1000 times. So you can use that hotspot view here instead of grabbing those past output data here for such kind of information. So what we see here is that FB TraceManager is doing fine, it's fetching data in time, and the Firebird server can release the temporary trace data generated on the server side on disk properly. So that's all fine. I think 5000 should be okay as well. So there's quite some traffic here then. According to the trace project, what you have configured was trace configuration options you are using. And we will see if we go refresh. It seems that we don't have missed one, so all is fine. Now, upper that limit to for instance 10,000. Then we can do the in-memory aggregation view here is very useful to get some kind of execution counts per statement, first execution time. So there's a lot of information here, average execution time, some I/O statistics regarding fetching from disk, from the cache, and so on. And we see that it seems that we missed some stuff here. So the reason for that is that basically if the trace client can't cope with the load and the Firebird server has to remove temporary stored trace data, the server somehow gives the client information that a trace session has been suspended. So if we go down here, we will see this row output here. So session 8 is suspended as its log is full. And the new trace events here, they are new in 3.5 as well, gives you a bit more information about such situations. And we basically have an aggregated view here on those trace events. So we already see here that the trace session has been suspended one time. Alright, nevertheless, the trace throughput has been increased a lot. With previous versions, we haven't been able to, for instance, cover the 5,000 scenario here without getting a trace session suspended notification from the server. Alright, purging of trace data is can be useful for some guys, especially if you're persisting a lot of trace data into the database. So what we now have for trace sessions and trace data, we have predefined purge options. So for instance, if you're interested in just deleting one trace session and all related trace data, you can simply click the selected. If you want to store or not to store but to purge in context of another time frame, you can do that here as well. So that can be very useful to keep the FB TraceManager database in shape and to clean up from time to time. I can demonstrate the RAM usage, the increased RAM usage limit here. We already have seen the usability improvements. Perhaps one note regarding the docking capabilities. So for instance, there are different areas in the product where you can dock different areas to different positions. I just want to show that in the monitoring tables area because that's quite useful here. For instance, you can grab that with drag and drop it in a different area, and so you have get some more information here on one screen regarding the database or transactions and attachments, where you then can for instance filter, for instance, and so both areas are filtered now by the attachment ID 64 and so on. Alright, so that's pretty much what I want to cover. Version 3.5 of FB TraceManager is a very nice release. Quite some new additions, especially the Firebird 3 support is very important for us and our customers and Firebird developers. So, well, that's basically my presentation. Thanks for watching.